Guest, Congresswoman Michele Bachmann, a Republican from Minnesota. Congresswoman, welcome. Good to have you here on your last day in office. It's good to have you. Let's jump into some of this, and then we'll get to that in just a moment. You're very unhappy, obviously, with the passage of this bill. Why?
It's the most consequential vote that I cast in 8 years, because not only is it an unconstitutional act that the president made by issuing millions of work permits, or his threat to do so, which is effectively amnesty, but it's also a breaking of the social compact between the United States government and the American people. We shouldn't be funding illegal, unconstitutional activity by the President of the United States. And what was very offensive to me is that we weren't even allowed to vote on defunding the President's illegal activity. What we did, in effect, Martha, was to fully fund the President's agenda through October 1st of this year. Why Republicans would do that is beyond me. We had the President of the United States on the phone lobbying for passage of John Boehner's bill yesterday. So we had John Boehner and the President working together to get this bill passed, which fully funds the President's illegal activity.
But I think in February that picture could change, and the thinking on John Boehner's part and those who stood with him was that once they get to February, they're going to have both sides of Capitol Hill, of course, and a lot more leeway than they have right now. They wanted to push that discussion to that point to have a little more leverage.
Well, and I hear and understand what you're saying, but again, by that time, the president is already putting together 1,000 individuals working in Crystal City to issue these work permits. And so the question is, will the leadership fight against the amnesty, and will they fight against the work permits? As a member of Congress, I have not seen the Republican leadership fight against the work permits or fight against amnesty. And I think really, Martha, the big question is this: would we have seen this vote in the week before the election? And I think never in any parallel universe would we have ever seen this vote just prior to the election. If that's so, why were we willing to have this vote today after the election? Because the American people don't want amnesty, and they don't want us funding the president's illegal amnesty. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to respect the American people and their vote. This is insulting.
Let me ask you this. You've been a very proud and outspoken spokeswoman in many ways for the Tea Party and the issues that they've stood for over the course of your time on Capitol Hill. And today's your last day on Capitol Hill.
It is.
How do you think your party's going to look in January and going forward in this next Congress?
Well, I'm extremely excited with the election results. This will be the first time in a long time that the Congress has been led by Republicans, both in the House and in the Senate. And I am hopeful that they will be emboldened to do the right thing, because the values that people care about are these. They don't want the government to spend more money than what it takes in. They want the government to follow the laws that it passes, and they believe that people are taxed enough already.
But are you concerned that, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but are you concerned that, you know, voices like yours are not going to have a prominent position in this new Congress?
Well, I think that with these larger numbers, I think we'll see more moderates in and probably a little bit fewer conservatives. But again, this is an opportunity for Republicans to show what they're made of and what their agenda is. And as long as we follow what it is that the American people want, the Republicans will continue to win elections in the future. That's really it. We need to do what we say we're going to do, and we need to follow the will of the people, and our country will be just fine.
Yeah, I know you said you've been happy, even though it's your last day, because you feel like you've been fighting to the very last minute of your service on Capitol Hill. And I also understand that you took an opportunity at the White House Christmas party to ask the president to bomb Iranian nuclear facilities during your moment with him shaking the hands by the Christmas tree. How did that go?
Well, you know, I decided this will be the last time that I'll have a conversation with the President of the United States in my capacity as a member of Congress, and I decided to have a substantive conversation. And I thought about what is the most important issue facing the United States today, and it's Iran obtaining a nuclear weapon. So I asked the President to be very serious and to think about this, because if Iran obtains a nuclear weapon on his watch, the course of history will change.
What was his response?
I used that time. Pardon?
What was his response?
Well, he was actually fairly condescending. He smiled and laughed and was fairly patronizing and said, well, you know, it just isn't that easy, Michelle, but that's okay. Like, I'm a little woman who doesn't know what I'm talking about. And so I told him, no, Mr. President, this is quite serious. This will be on your watch, and you can't go backwards. This is the ultimate and high-stakes bingo. We can't get it wrong. And if there's anything Iran has proved, it's that they have blown through every requirement, and they have moved fully ahead to put together their nuclear program. This is a very serious issue. They have stated unequivocally they will bomb the United States, they will bomb Israel, they will use this weapon if they have it, and I believe under no circumstances should Iran ever have access to a nuclear weapon. But they're on their way. They're well on their way.
Interesting exchange, and I know something you feel very strongly, obviously, and very passionately about. I want to thank you for being with us quite often in your capacity as Congresswoman, and wish you well in your future endeavors. And I'm sure we'll see you on the other side and in your next life and the next chapter as well. Thank you very much, Congresswoman Michele Bachmann. Good to see you. Happy holidays to you and your family.
Thank you. The best is yet to come.
You bet. Thank you.
Tells me she's not going away, right?